International Affairs, last of this week, being broadcasted from the SATV's Gulshan studio. As we step into the discussions, let me introduce my panel. Here in the studio, I have Advocate Mohsen Rashid, who is, of course, a senior jurist and an analyst on this very show. I welcome you onto the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Alongside, we will have Norman Floyd Barnes joining us from Washington District of Columbia, all the way there in the United States of America. I want to begin today's date with the latest updates that we're receiving from the Middle East. Also wanting an update from Norman Floyd Barnes. We know for a fact that Iran and the U.S. have been exchanging retaliatory strikes on various assets belonging to each other. As Iran has warned today, it would destroy regional infrastructure if the U.S. targets Iranian infrastructure in accordance with the laws of this war. I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes, what are some of the latest updates you have regarding today, regarding the geopolitical arena as of this morning? A very good morning to you, Norman.
Good morning. Today we doing a second day of extreme heat. It was a hot one yesterday. Today expected to be the same. The war continues, turning out to be a very routine matter. We are continuing our attacks, the United States, on Iran, on targets, and Iran is responding by attacking the GCC countries, Bahrain, Kuwait, with his own set of attacks. The conversations about ceasefire appears to be fading away. Hope is still there, but the actual will to proceed with negotiations appears to be fading, as I say, dying on the vine. So right now, Congress is talking about restricting the amount of funding it gives to Israel to promote its military campaign in the region. And we are waiting for Sunday's World Cup championship match. It appears there's going to be a lot of people watching this important match, and that is it right now. The heat and the war are the two topics on the day, and we are waiting. The only good thing I see is we're waiting for Sunday for this match of these two powerhouse soccer teams.
Right. Thanking Norman Floyd Barnes. Excellent opening regarding today. We know it's fairly lax as on a Thursday to understand what we are going to face in the coming days. But however, hostilities between Iran and the U.S. has reignited since last week, fraying on an already fragile truce reached in June after several months of fighting that has killed thousands. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday convened a meeting in the White House Situation Room to discuss massive new Iran strikes, according to the news website Axios. Turning to Advocate Mohsen Rashid, the truce, the Islamabad MOU, did not last 30 days. Unfortunately, so even after a meeting in Switzerland's Lucerne, the two sides still once again is seeing confrontational behavior. And I believe that that really puts the mediating nations in risk, not only Pakistan, but Qatar as well as Egypt. I want to get a remark from you, how you're understanding these new developments.
Well, you see, as long as Netanyahu is on the scene, he will not allow a truce to take place, because Zionists have their own plan. Now, what has happened is that the MOU was actually meant for a ceasefire so that negotiations could go on between them, and the negotiations had started in good earnest by both the sides. Other impediments are people like Trump's son-in-law, Witkoff, because their job is to ensure on behalf of Netanyahu that peace does not prevail. They are making money out of it. And I understand by now, within this period, with the stock market and the oil prices going up and down, they have made more than $9 billion, both Krishna and Bitcoin. While the American people are suffering. The gas prices have gone up in the United States by about 43-45%. There is lack of phosphorus, helium, phosphate everywhere, urea, fertilizer. So this is also going to affect the world market, and world is moving towards a depression. Now this reminds me of the 31st President of the United States. He was a very rich man before he became the president. He was from the mining industry, made a lot of money, and did a lot of excellent work. He was regarded, he had this title of, I'm talking Hoover, President Hoover.
Right.
He had this title of a great humanitarian. But then after he became the president, the Great American Depression, 29 to 33, that was his term, I think so if I'm not wrong. And there was depression in the United States, which pulled him down, and he has gone down in history as the worst president, in which people died of hunger, the businesses collapsed, the economy collapsed, the stock market collapsed, everything collapsed. While he was such a good man, who got the title of the great humanitarian, he lost total control after he became the president. Now, Trump is a narcissist. Trump is a mental case. He should, go to an asylum and be treated. Otherwise, the Americans will be destroyed. Israel will be wiped off the map. It will not be there in geography. If this continues, I can assure you,
Right.
Iran will become a nuclear power. They will get out of the proliferation, nuclear NPT, as they call it. And all the bases will be destroyed. You see, the fifth fleet is not there in Bahrain, it has been totally destroyed. CENTCOM is on the way of being destroyed. Qatar is somehow saving it, but nonetheless, it will be destroyed. Air bases in Saudi Arabia have been hit by the Houthis, as they call it. Nobody knows today whether it was the Saudis who fired on the Iranian airline, which was returning after Ayatollah's funeral. It could be an Israeli job to create a problem between Saudi Arabia and the Houthis, in turn with the Iranians. Now, Qatar, I understand, is still continuing to play a role, and though it said it would not after these strikes, but I think the foreign minister of Iran perhaps had a telephonic conversation or has gone to Qatar. Pakistan still continues. They are trying to calm down things, but everything depends on the US. You see how it all started again after the MOU. It was all started because the Americans, they tried to bypass the Iranian coast, and they wanted ships to pass through the Omani coast.
To the Omani side.
To the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz, and that is when the Iranians fired and the problems arose. Some ships have sunk, some ships have, I think 2-3 ships have even gone today.
Right.
America, in the Security Council, they got a drubbing from the Chinese yesterday, I think. So this is where the situation is. I think the Americans should think of the 25th Amendment. But then again, you have a warmonger in Hegseth. Hegseth comes from Norway. His background is his descendants. He's a descendant from Norwegian immigrants, and I think he has the blood of the Vikings. Not the current Norwegians are very good people, very polite people, lovely people, but I think he has the blood of the Vikings.
Right. Interesting take on this current situation in the Middle East by Advocate Mohsen Rashid. Of course, not leaving out a person like Pete Hegseth, who has turned from his anchoring life into a life of high stakes tensions in the Ministry of War, as they call it. There are some issues that have happened off the coast of Oman. Earlier this week, it has left 3 crew members missing and 3 oil tankers were struck in this critical strait, Omani territorial waters off of the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, triggering a fire in the vessel's engine room. OMSC said in a statement that the 23 crew members were evacuated by a nearby merchant vessel and all were in good health. But of course, to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, much of which was a part of the memorandum of understanding that the two sides had earlier on. So I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes, important situation. First of all, we saw that there was a misrepresentation or misunderstanding of the terms and conditions inside the memorandum itself while Switzerland was happening, and today we see the use of Omani waters to bypass the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran claims is sovereign. It's their sovereignty, it's their territory. So I want to ask you how you're seeing these recent developments. It is only going on to a more messier situation as more and more countries are lining up in those which are going to be very affected if the strait were to close down. Norman, how do you see this maritime security disaster that is unfolding?
Well, this maritime security disaster is a geopolitical nightmare. The currently the world is very dependent on energy fuel, which emanates from that region, which focuses directly on the passage of the strait. Uh, Everything dependent right now, unfortunately, on the ability of free-flowing trade and commerce, ships to get in, ships to get out with resources, food, energy, power, everything is dependent on that. And unfortunately, there's only, I think, one country in this world that is totally dependent on its natural resources. And I think they are located off the coast of South America. The rest of the world is dependent on each other, getting resources in and out, buy stuff, sell stuff, use stuff, whatever. It's dependent on that. And we have created a situation right now, the United States, uh, the GCC, Iran, Europe, and everyone is dependent on the use of the waters, the oceans, to navigate its resources for day-to-day life. So the United States is hell bent on ensuring that trade and commerce comes through the area. Iran is hell bent on controlling what they consider their land. They own that, they believe they control that area, and they will have a say so on how and when trade and commerce moves through. The issue is greed. There is just pure greed. Who controls, who get paid, and whatsoever. So Iran is leveraging that point that they have the key, they have the control of their region to the rest of the world. That hey, we want to participate in this world order. We want to have our freedom to make choices. We want the freedom, our freedom to have way of life. If you do not, the United States, Israel, and other possible, you do not recognize us and allow us to participate in it, we will make sure that your life will be very difficult moving forward. We were to the point where we will basically dry up your economy. We will cause your country to fail. We will cause chaos in the rest of the world until you recognize that we are a legitimate and sovereign country, and we deserve the right to basically participate in this new world order. Uh, Now the situation is getting to we have gotten to the point where now Iran feels that they can control the narrative. The United States has military might, but military might is not what this conflict is about. The world is in pain. We need to have a resolution to this issue with trade and commerce, the free passage of resources so countries can survive, countries can move forward. Unfortunately, a small group of influencers makes money on conflict. My colleague would talk about the depression. Yes, we are moving towards a recession, depression type of situation just because of greed. A small group of people wants of influencers want to control the margins. They want to control all the money, and the rest of the world is suffering for that. And so I do not see any type of change. We have settled, and like we said today, we have settled into a new uh, unstable environment. That has come the new normal. The new normal is prices goes up, the cost of living goes up, resources goes down, conflicts prevail back and forth with no signs of any party wants to basically improve the situation. The problem with that is the world, the people, the average person who do not have resources, do not have means, suffering from that, will suffer, squeezing the pockets of every human being on this earth. The people who have the money and resources, they are making money. They are increasing their profile because of the stress and because of the ability to control limited resources we have of the earth. So we do not see any type of sunshine of future of peace and harmony because we have greedy people, greedy resources who believe that they should control something that is natural. That strait is a natural, not man-made area that was meant for free-flowing traffic and whatever. We have other issues that is more concerning to me is we have weather-related issues. The earth is changing, the things are moving, and there's no concerted plan on how we're going to deal with that. It's going to affect all of us. We talk about energy. Well, the lack of the energy is going to have an effect onto a situation where we cannot get at resources necessary to protect and help the people. Now,
Right.
the people pays the bills. The people have to pay the bills. What happens when you don't have the money to pay the bills? So that's the issue. What happens when you don't have money to buy the fuel, to buy the energy, to buy food? You created another situation, and then we have Mother Nature has its own understanding that hey, you're gonna have to pay attention to me and what limited resources you have and abilities you have, you're gonna have to dedicate it to basically saving the people who in essence pays the bills. So we you know we the dog is chasing the tail and back and forth. There's no resolution. Our leaders don't understand that we have a bigger responsibility than just this fighting, this control, this greed. Controlling
Right.
100% of nothing is nothing. So basically, so you want to control something which you can't have and something that you don't have, and then you want to basically have someone to pay for it. Well, it doesn't work that way when you don't have the ability to buy and purchase these things. So let's see how this thing works out. But I don't see any type of change to this except the leadership is going to change because the people are now understanding what this is about. It's just pure greed.
Of course, as Norman Floyd Barnes delivers his excellent statement regarding so many of these themes that are coming in, we often forget to look at Mother Nature's tantrums when we deal with this warlike situation, not only in the Middle East, but from rest of the parts of the world. Later on to this program, we'll be talking about a historical war that happened in Southern America, the Falklands War, as it becomes very important in the coming days in comparison to world entertainment and as well as football. Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned on this program for more as we head for a short commercial. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panta.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor.
All back on International Affairs. Of course, I am joined with Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington District of Columbia, alongside in the studio with Advocate Mohsen Rashid. As we were talking about some situations in the Middle East, some of the latest hostilities, one thing that is definitely coming fresh to mind is regarding Israel, regarding some of the times that they have bombarded or they have caused casualties inside not only in southern Lebanon, but historically in various communities inside the Gaza Strip. I want to ask you, previously we've seen the Donald Trump, the US President POTUS, initiating himself and others inside what we know as a board of peace. And clinically to say that it hasn't been much, more or less, anything regarding peace, let alone there is no talk of reinstating, if not cleaning up Gaza to an extent. It is only showing that it has become a board of confrontations, board of war, board of any other term to describe the current situation. I want to ask you the role of this board of peace, and really it is not really having any kind of effect. The world moves on with entertainment, but Gaza still remains a barren land. How do you see it?
You see, Board of Peace was a non-starter from day one. They were trying to bypass the UN by creating this Board of Peace. So it was a non-starter. Board of Peace is dead. There's nothing in it. So let's forget that. In as much as Israel is concerned and the problems in Gaza and West Bank and Syria, we all know that Donald Trump has asked Netanyahu to withdraw his forces from South Lebanon and from the Syrian Golan Heights. But I don't think if Netanyahu is going to pay any attention, because Netanyahu is the boss, not Donald Trump. Donald Trump only takes orders, and even in these negotiations that we're having in Iran and other places, we have witnessed that Witkoff and Kushner, they were on the phone passing on every discussion that was taking place. So you see, it's a big conspiracy which is being hatched, and I think it's now time that Israel will suffer because Americans may not be willing to pay their taxpayers' money to fund Israeli war machine or to fund their armaments, so they'll have to be on their own. Recently, I saw there was some kind of a law that they were passing in the Knesset. The law did pass with a very thin majority of 1 or 2 votes, but the entire Knesset was up in arms shouting shame, shame, shame when Netanyahu entered. I think it is time that America should learn its lessons and disconnect with the Zionists. People living in Israel are not bad people, they are good people. The bad people and the Zionists are in the settlements which have been created by the state of Israel. Those should be abolished. They're still killing people in West Bank, these settlers. So I think I don't read much into the Board of Peace. Board of Peace is dead totally. MOU is still, though shredded as people say, but it will have to come back to life because America will go begging that let us have a deal ultimately. Otherwise, elections are coming up. It is expected that Trump will lose his majority in the House of Representatives. I am not very sure about the Senate, but it will be very difficult for him to govern, very difficult for him to get his budget passed, very difficult to get these trillions of dollars that they want for the war machine. So, this is all going to affect and Trump will go down, Trump presidency will go down as the worst, surpassing the 31st President Hoover, and American history will note that Trump and his family were the most corrupt people ever in the United States history. This is where we are.
Right. A very important and very emphasized statement coming from Advocate Mohsin Rashid in the current situation of things as we see them unfolding, as the entire world analyzes where the future lies. We know for a fact that the Israeli elections are going to be held sometime around in October, while the midterm elections are happening in November in the United States of America. The timing the timing also shows the type of relationship that the both nations have. Not only so, Israel has a plan on a greater Israel, which Benjamin Netanyahu actively dreams on. As we see that earlier on this week, an Israeli airstrike has happened on a post belonging to a Gaza in Hamas-run police force that has killed at least 7 people, including a senior officer and a woman, according to police officials. Of course, this bombardment is still ongoing. I want to ask Norman, how you're seeing the position of Israel in its election in terms to the midterms in the United States. Afterwards, I want to ask you about historical ties between Argentina and England. But first, with Israel and the United States, how are you seeing this relationship, Norman?
The relationships, the relationship between the United States and Israel is at best changing. The leaders here in the United States finally realizing that there's no solution, there's no benefit, there's no future in continuing supporting this mission of Israel. Israel has a plan to expand its horizon, to annex the region, to control and be the only power in that region. Unfortunately, the manner in which they are doing this, the historical genocide process, is reminiscent of a former country, Germany, under rule of Hitler, Nazi. It's very unfortunate that the issues that World War II created for the Israeli people has not been learned by the current people in Israel. They are now doing exactly the same thing that was done to them. And it's very sick that we are not listening and understanding what is happening. It appears to be a desperation period of trying to be relevant, trying to control something which you don't own. You never had the lawful right to own, and you want to basically get rid of people who oppose you. Well, unfortunately, there's more people in the world than what you think should exist, who should exist, and civilizations that prevail and that was created before you will remain intact and will supersede what you attempted to do. The United States in this efforts are now in a situation where reputation, credibility, the future growth is largely dependent on exactly how we deal with the issues with Israel, how we deal with the issue of the world, and basically how we retain credibility in the face of the world in light of what happened. Mistakes has been made. Many mistakes has been made. There have been missteps that have been accused. But the issue is basically when do we wake up and understand that we need to move on? We need to have a new day. The way we did, the traditional ways is no longer valid and is no longer sustainable for where we want to go in the future. There will be changes. There will be situations where we're going to come up very soon. There will be voting by the American people and the Congress on exactly how do we fund these type of international affairs, resources. Do we give money to Israel? If so, to what content? What conditions do we put on it? There's no more free money to do what you want to do. We have to control exactly what's going on because the money comes from the resources of the people. And here in the United States, the people do not and will not have the resources to continue to fund these type of wars, these type of events by other countries. And at the same time, we are suffering with our own internal wars and what's going on. Our elected leaders are just that, elected, and they can be de-elected, deselected, and they can lose their appointments. Funding is going to be the biggest issues going on moving forward. Where's the money coming from? Who's going to provide the money? And where the money is spent is going to be the issues. The world has to change. The world is changing, and we have to understand that the world is changing, and we have to make these adjustments because the issue of sustainability is now in question. The future. How do we move forward tomorrow? And situation right now, we are no better than we were 6 months ago, a year ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago. Nothing has improved. This year has shown that basically we are degressing, we are declining in terms of our impact and in terms of improving the quality of life for the human people, for the human mankind, for the mankind. We have to make decisions, and these decisions are going to have to be dependent on exactly how do we see ourselves, how do we improve ourselves, how do we relate to our neighbors, because it's going to come down to all this war and stuff is going to come down, and someone has to talk to each other. We have to sit down and talk. How do we collectively get to the next day? That is where we're going to do. How do we coexist and get to the next day? By limiting and trying to control people is no longer valid. It no longer makes sense. And there will not be funding available because no one has the money. There will be no money. We can't make money doing trade and commerce. We can't do anything. There will be no money to spend. So the issue of spending something you don't have is going to come to the point. There would not be the means. The means would not be able to support these type of wars, these type of conflict. And the people who are doing this stuff based on funding will basically die on the vine. it would be a reverse situation. You can no longer afford to have conflict. So you have to figure out a way to survive. It's a survival situation right now. And right now we're spending more money than we're making. The world is
Right.
spending more money than it's making, and resources are drying up, and there will be desperate moves made to basically salvage that, try to control. We got situation, we're talking about Cuba. Now the United States is talking about taking over Cuba. For what? We can't even control the situation here in the United States. We have countries where people are still, we have cities, we have counties, we have states where people still don't not have necessary medical issues, medical needs, supplies. We don't have the money to buy food. We don't have the money to buy gas.
Right. As Norman Floyd Barnes was stating his concerns with the United States and how the circle of money is making a very devastating round, as in the end he was also mentioning regarding Cuba. And if Cuba were to be taken over, we know that the nation is of 10 million people, which are currently living in very dire conditions as they are going through a major blackout, fourth in the last span of 9 days. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a commercial break. Afterwards, we will look at a situation from the past in 1982 regarding the Falklands War. I suggest that you all stay tuned for more on this very. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan,
Opening an open war conflict with them.
testing nuclear missiles,
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing,
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks
preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
with President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Welcoming our viewers to the very last segment of International Affairs. We were joined by Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington, D.C., as he has been disconnected, turning to Advocate Mohsen Rashid here in the studio. Yesterday night, here in Bangladesh, we've seen England facing Argentina in the semi-finals. Last of the semi-finals, as Argentina has won 2-1. However, after the game had ended, the Argentine team was holding a banner, which is very controversial. It's because that it relates between the two nations' rivalry in 1982 over the Falklands War, and the Argentine team yesterday was stating that the Falkland Islands, or the island Malvinas, is belonging to the Argentine side. The combination of entertainment mixed with geopolitical signaling, and we've seen this game being more of a fist fight, a leg fight, if you may call it, more than ethical football. Just to get how you see this, as we were talking earlier on.
Well, you see, we are in the Trump land, and anything that is touched by Trump will create controversies. So that has been seen and witnessed in the football field as well. We've seen a lot of controversies this year. FIFA, we never saw such controversies as we see this year.
Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Pantha.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan.
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
Really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
They will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply not enough action being taken to address the problem of fossil fuels.
What their plan initially is towards the Caribbean, a place that has been met with two types of disasters.
Bangladeshi students at the same level of opportunity internationally and domestically.
International Affairs. Watch every Sunday to Thursday at 2 p.m. only on SATV and SATV Digital. Hello and welcome to International Affairs, and my name is Shamsul Alam Panta.
I don't see an easy resolution to this because every slight deviation from the plan.
Opening an open war conflict with them.
Testing nuclear missiles.
Russia's announcement of these supposedly successful testing.
Special and exclusive footage that is being played on SATV screen.
really coming to terms with Hamas.
Damage estimated between this entire issue.
President Trump is expected to hold bilateral talks.
Preserving biodiversity and tackling climate change.
We cannot protect the planet before we negotiate peace.
Where is it going? Is it understanding the needs of its people before the needs of this global world?
For China to come to agreement,
they will face better projects.
With President Xi of China and President Lee of South Korea.
Trump's White House that is in favor of these things.
Simply.
And I think people will not have sympathy for what the Argentinians did yesterday, because that's not sportsmanship. That's
Right.
politics in its worst form on the football pitch.
Of course, thanking Advocate Mohsen Rashid. Excellent use of examples that you have shown in the past as well as the recent games. We know that the Argentine football team has done this very same act as they done yesterday back in 2014 when they played against Slovenia. They held up this exact banner, and the FIFA was forced to fine the Argentine Football Association £20,000 after the players had held this placard way back in 2014. So that really shows us where the fans, where the players really lie and how they want to carry their national message. On the other side, popular YouTuber iShowSpeed was a subject, a victim of racial abuse by Argentinian fans in their very last game as well. So it's really time to understand how far this game is entertainment, if not geopolitical countering in a world global stage. I thank both my guests here today for their contributions and their time on international affairs. Both Advocate Mohsen Rashid, I thank you as well as Norman Floyd Barnes from Washington District of Columbia. As I draw a closure to today's international affairs, I want to have some honorable mentions. Of course, today is 16th of July 2026. We can remember 2 years ago a very important event occurred in Bangladesh, and today we look at as July Martyrs' Day in our nation, observed as a solemn day of national mourning to commemorate the students, those citizens who were killed in the historic July uprising 2 years ago. It is still fresh and people still remember what has happened in those very crucial days and hours. With that being said, I'm signing off on International Affairs.